I would just say you do you. I mean, because everybody needs to have a niche. Follow your niche. Create something that you like. Share what you like. Don't share what you don't like. Show the real side of you. People want to see what's relatable, and if you show what's real and not something that's fake or made up or has too much of acting in it, that's when people will connect with you, when you show the real side of what you do on a regular basis.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Unboxed, the podcast where we unravel the heart and soul of branding, marketing, and technology. I'm your host AJ, and today I'm thrilled to have Rashida Badlawala with us, a seasoned content specialist with over 12 years of experience. Rashida made her mark on major brands in the UAE and currently serves as the Omnichannel Marketing Specialist at Majid Al Futtaim Retail. As a creative mind behind Rashida Blogs, Rashida's journey from a food blogger to a diversified lifestyle and travel creator offers a unique perspective on things. More importantly, Rashida is recognized as one of the top 50 most influential content marketing professionals by the World Marketing Congress. I'm so delighted to have you, Rashida, with us today.
Thank you for having me, AJ.
Beyond the script, beyond what I just said, can you, in your own words, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you do?
So I've always had a passion for writing, stories, poems, even my thoughts, journaling. Writing is something that has always impressed me. And having to create something you love and make that as your profession, I think that's the best thing anyone can do.
Yeah.
So my job is a full-time copywriter. Currently, I'm with Majid Al Futtaim Retail.
All right.
And apart from that, what interests me a lot is sharing my experiences through writing, through photography. And that's the reason I started my own personal blog, Rashida Blogs.
Yes.
It actually started off, as an idea. When I was young, and younger, when I used to look up for restaurants, to see where to go. This is before Zomato or Google reviews, came into existence.
Oh yeah. There was nothing there.
There was no way. The only way I think was through a Time Out Dubai website.
Exactly.
And I used to look at different restaurants. I used to read the reviews written by the staff writers, and I used to always wonder, like, that's the job I want to have. To be able to describe it. I was so fascinated by the way it was written.
Okay.
I just wanted to share my experiences, help people out into deciding what to eat, where to go, things like that. Cut to 9 years back, I realized I don't need to have a job. I just need to have a social media channel to share my reviews.
Okay.
And that's exactly how Rashida Blogs was it came into effect.
Wow, that's interesting. And it's really nice to have people who follow their passion, do things that they really love to do. And this is basically something I'm really passionate about, because the reason I'm here today is because I followed my passion, and every single guest that we have on the show share similar stories, and they've all reached where they are because of the persistence, the passion, even the failures, right, along the way. So I'm so happy to hear your story, and I've gone through your blog, and it's quite interesting, and I would recommend people to check it out as well.
Thank you so much.
Now I'm going to you're into communications, and you're into marketing, and then content marketing as well. Now, from what I understand, how I would define content marketing is basically a strategic approach to creating and curating relevant and consistent content that not just sells but also builds trust and loyalty for the brand. It is not just about selling a product, like I said. It is about building trust, right? It has to be consistent, it has to be relevant, it has to be authentic, right? And did I get it correct?
So I have a theory behind content. It comprises of 3 R's. It needs to be reliable, it needs to be relatable, and it needs to be relevant.
Okay.
So reliable, of course, like you said, it needs to be authentic. When you're putting out, when you're marketing your product or your service, you need to make sure what you're saying is authentic, it makes sense, creates trust within the customer's mind, right? It needs to be relatable.
Yes.
You have to target the correct audience. You need to make sure that your communication is getting to the right people.
Yes.
And of course relevant. Like you can't sell something which is from the past or from the future, which does not make sense to people today.
Yes.
So I think that's what content is for me. It needs to be reliable, relatable, and relevant.
It's a very nice way you put it. And I think ChatGPT needs to learn, because that definition that I just told you was from ChatGPT. So anyway, it's kind of, let's see, there are some gaps. So now, when we look at your journey, you've gone from being a personal blogger and creating content on your own to working in a corporate space and writing compelling copies. And when we look, how we look at copy and communication is it evokes an emotion, right? It has to evoke an emotion, or it has to drive an action or something of that sort. What is the key differences between the two? Because when you're a personal blogger, like you said, you found a gap and then you started following your passion. But when you're working in the corporate space, there are some guidelines, there are some objectives, goals, and that you need to achieve with this writing. There are some ROIs involved. There's some conversions that people may look at. So what is the key difference between writing personally and on a professional level?
I think having something to do on a professional and personal level, it kind of creates a good balance, because you have the left brain, right brain concept, right? So on the one hand, being a corporate employee, creating copy for brands, for the audiences, it gives me a more structured approach where I'm following brand guidelines, where I have clear objectives, clear marketing briefs that I need to build my copy based on. And it allows me to kind of narrow it down to a particular segment or a particular campaign, a particular communication objective. On the other hand, when I'm writing for my blog, it gives me a lot of creative freedom. I can express myself more openly. I can talk about my feelings, thoughts. I can touch upon topics that are. I'm the boss, right? And I mean, as long as you're not breaking any laws, as long as you're talking something which is genuine, you're showing the real side of you.
Exactly.
Something that you cannot do, because it's not about corporate world not allowing you to do that, but you might want to talk about travel. But I work in a hypermarket environment, so when I want to write about travel, I use my blog as a means to express those feelings, express those those passions.
That's really interesting, actually, and quite insightful, basically. When you the transition between the personal writing and the corporate writing, so you have more flexibility, freedom.
Right.
You can be yourself. Not that you're not yourself in the corporate world, but because it's a more structured approach, it's more goal.
Yeah, there are more layers. There are more processes involved. Yes. This is more about let me express myself, express my creativity through my words, through my videos, through my photographs, through my travels, through my experiences, mainly.
Yes. One thing that people often, this is something, a topic that is very of deeply interest to me, and I discuss this with all the guests that we have on board, is the relevance of AI and technology in today's world and how it's impacting the jobs of people. So if, let's visualize, someone with a machine gun, ChatGPT is holding a machine gun and shooting down people, and essentially you have all these different roles and different professions, and people feel that the first type of people that's going to be affected is the copywriters and the content writers and this thing. How would you view this? How would you view the advancement of technology in today's, and how relevant is what I just said? Is it really going to replace jobs, or especially in communication, content development, and stuff like that?
I use AI as a support in my day-to-day work, both for my blog as well as for my professional work.
Yes.
I don't think AI has reached that point where it can completely replace a creative mindset.
Yes.
you can find a lot of ideas, a lot of inspiration using AI, but the language is so formal, the language is very repetitive,
Exactly.
the kind of words they use, the kind of.
And it's reached, Rashida, if it's reached a point that you tend to instantly recognize that this is an AI generated content, if it is not prompted.
To be very honest with you, I have fights with ChatGPT.
Yeah,
I get
right.
so annoyed with ChatGPT at times. I just go like, can't you understand what I'm saying?
exactly.
Like, because sometimes it just does not get what I'm trying to put across.
True.
And, I mean, being a human,
Yes.
I get really annoyed. And
Yes.
I go like, okay, let me just put this aside. Let me focus on my own skills,
Exactly.
rather than depending on AI.
True.
Obviously, a lot of companies are using generative AI for their communications. The thing with copywriting is, it's a very tricky concept. People think as long as you know the language, anybody can be a writer, which is not true. There's an entire thought process that goes behind creating copy for a campaign, for a product, for a brand, whatever it be. And it's a very interesting thing that I had come across on LinkedIn. I don't know if it was Mini Cooper or if it's some other brand. It said that if you ask ChatGPT to create an ad,
this is how it would look like. Right?
It will look like. And if you ask a copywriter, the ad said drinks responsibly because it was a fuel efficient car. And that's something that you'll never get out of AI.
I think I've seen that. Yeah. It's quite interesting.
So I think that says it all.
I think it's about using the tool to empower yourself, to expand, but again,
to make a few things easier. Maybe like do a little spell check, or find a few synonyms for something, or just structure content more accurately. But at the end of the day, you have to you have to proofread, you have to relook, you have to tweak, you have to edit. You need a human to do all of that. A human with a keen eye for copywriting, not just somebody who understands the English language.
Exactly. And also, like we just discussed before we got on online, is how each writer has a personality or a style.
Right.
And of course, ChatGPT or AI tries to mimic it, but then again, how far can it mimic, right? So and okay, maybe you have the personality styles of well-known writers, but you as a communication specialist have a special style or a different way of writing. So unless the AI spends a lot of time understanding you and looking at your references, it won't do the fair job. So I feel every writer or every professional has a personality, something unique about themselves, which probably in 5 years or 2 years or 3 years it may happen, but right now I think there's a big gap. And this is something I was discussing with my previous guest, one of the guests we had on board recently, is she's a LinkedIn specialist, and I was just telling her, when you look at LinkedIn profiles of some people, how people who never used to post anything now are writing paragraphs of informative content and have opinions about everything under the sun.
LinkedIn offers this. Use AI to write your message or your post, and
it's so easy to understand when you read it that it's AI generated.
Right.
So unless you are a professional like yourself who can tweak it, modify it, and then enhance it and simplify it, humanize it, people will. There's no point. It just looks fake and artificial. I feel.
I think AI is a good option for people who used to hire support staff just to generate on a very short term basis, just to generate a few posts or just to generate some sort of articles or things like that, which do not really need to have a lot of creative enhancement applied to it. But when it comes to copywriting, when it comes to creating specialized communication, you still need somebody who understands the ethos of the brand, who understands what a brand stands for, the guidelines, the kind of tone of voice they have, and apply all of that to the copy they create.
True. And I cannot stress enough, coming from a branding background, and we here at Moonbox, how much time we spend on creating the personality of the brand, the tone, the voice, the style, the personality itself, and how important it is to follow that personality. And this is not just done using AI; it's done spending tons of hours with the stakeholders of the brand, discussing different various angles, various things about their businesses, and then coming up with a structured approach on what the brand needs to be, what is the personality of the brand. And I think you know the importance of this more than anyone else when it comes to developing the tone.
I think
and
to
voice.
add on to what you're saying, AI is a good way to polish up on your existing skills.
Yes.
Like my specialty is copywriting. I have learned a little bit of design, Photoshop, things like that, but I'm not very pro at it. So I can use my copywriting as a base, and if I need to design something, I can use the AI effects on Photoshop to kind of create a whole project. Similarly, a designer who has certain copywriting skills but does not want to hire a completely different person, or who needs to get something done quickly, can use the copywriting support from ChatGPT or similar AI models to kind of complete their project. So I think it's a good way to enhance your existing skills in a different field, which is not your primary work.
And right now, when you're saying this, something popped up in my head, because as a designer, probably you would ask generative AI or to create a copy for an ad, let's say, for example, but he wouldn't know the quality of that copy, that this thing, or is it relevant? Is it actually conveying the message? Is it evoking an emotion or an action? He would just copy and paste it into the ad just to fill up the space. And that's where specialists like you come into the picture to validate it and make sure that, okay, this is relevant information. This can create is evoking an emotion. Is this calling for action or something of that sort? And that's where I think it just popped up in my head.
I think just to give it a name, we can call AI an intern, at the moment.
Exactly. Working for Al Fathem, and it's a huge organization. There's a lot of retail, there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of communication that goes on behind the scenes. What would you say is your process for crafting, engaging, and impactful content, both personally as well as in the corporate world?
In the corporate world, when it comes to working for the brands that I have worked with over the last decade, I think what matters most is understanding who your audience is and making sure you're connecting with them, because you might be creating a product or service that's not relevant for your market, or that's not targeting the right kind of people. So whatever you do, whatever language you use, whatever words you use, needs to connect with the audience. Like for example, when I'm working in the hypermarket, in the grocery space, using very fancy words or using a lot of fluff doesn't really make any
it has
difference,
to be universal,
because people have a very small attention span. If you're in a busy supermarket, you're looking at communication, you're looking at campaigns,
Hundreds
there's a
of
lot
brands,
of clutter. You need to make sure your message is direct, short, concise,
simple.
Very simple. If you're talking about a discount, it just needs to say 50% off. It does not need to talk about why you created this campaign or what is your brief behind it, or things like that. I think that is the biggest challenge as well as the biggest opportunity when it comes to standing out from your competition, creating a communication that directly connects with your audience, and that's the most important.
I think simplicity, like you mentioned, is very key, especially in communication and design. We often think that making things complicated and writing flowery language is
makes you look good,
yeah.
but it does not.
Yeah, it doesn't at the end of the day, it doesn't meet the objectives.
Right.
People don't really understand. It may look good on paper, may look, people will be impressed with, okay, that's really nice language, but I can't understand what it says. So like you said, 50% off is better than, it's universal, anybody can understand it. It
connects with multiple categories of audiences,
exactly.
Across nationalities, across languages, across
especially in a place like Dubai, where
it's a melting pot of cultures.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And also the kind of channel you use to communicate this. Like if you're, for example, if you're talking about in-store communication where there's a lot of clutter, you need to stand out. You use direct copy. When you're talking about social media, you use something more creative. You use
engaging.
videos. You use we use recipes and things like that to get a lot of our customers engaging, commenting, sharing content, things like that. When you're talking about outdoor ads, again, it needs to be something that stands out, that kind of catches the attention.
Yes.
All of those things also matter a lot.
Yes.
What platform you're showcasing
Yes.
on. If it's a video ad, for example, sometimes you have a script, sometimes you have a funny story behind it. People are going to watch
Sure.
that 30-second video, so you can kind of play around with words, with copy, with visuals.
Exactly.
It all matters on the channel you're posting the content
What you
on.
said is absolutely right. I agree 1000% with you. Because even when we craft visuals for, let's say, outdoor, we always tell them, you have a way. I mean, ultimately the guy is driving. He'll just take a peek, and then he'll focus on the road. So what kind of information do you want to, what kind of awareness, or what should he see during that split second when he just looks at this thing? So you don't have a lot of scope for writing a lot of things.
It has to be more of a visual appeal than text-based appeal, but something that again stands out, or uses both the words in the best way.
Although we understand it, it's very difficult to convince the client, because they feel that having a lot of this is what
information.
Information is what we face on a daily basis. The kind of challenge that we face, it has to be really intricate, very detailed, and stuff like that. But then you miss the point, like we just discussed.
Like having a QR code on a billboard would not make sense. No one's going to hold the phone while driving. But having an 800 number or just a website URL, a very short one.
Sure. It has to be practical. It has to be functional. Any message, any communication has to be practical and functional. Like you said, it has to drive results. Right. For an organization, okay, let's put aside the fact that we're talking about Majal thing. For any organization, how important is communication and content? I know it's relatively important, but because I feel this is how a brand connects emotionally.
Yeah, you need to connect with your audience. Yes. I mean, you don't want to appear as an impersonal, brand with some rigid structure, or somebody who sits in a building in a gray walled office. You want to appear more human to your audiences. You want to appear more approachable, which is why communication, a two-way communication, is very important. Not only telling customers what you have to offer, but also taking feedback from them, trying to evolve, trying to change, trying to do better for your audiences. So I think communication is very important, but it has to be both intake and outtake.
Yes. The funny part is, like, when we develop a website, or when we develop a brochure or a communication material or collateral, sometimes the client comes to us and says, "No, we'll give you the copy. We have an intern working in the office. We'll use ChatGPT and we'll give you a copy," and stuff like that. But from what you said, for every company, every brand, communication is an investment that they need to make if they want to drive results and build brand awareness, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is, every brand is like a person. You in your head, you imagine every single brand to be some kind of personality. It can be somebody young, cool. It can be somebody old. It can be somebody boring. It can be somebody fun. That's the kind of persona you need to create, and communication is key in order to be able to do that in the correct manner, the way you want your brand to be perceived.
When you look back at your journey from being a personal blogger, and what was the most rewarding experience you felt as a content writer, and what did you take away, and how has that shaped your corporate your current role in the corporate world?
I think the fact that, as a blogger, as a content creator, being able to constantly evolve and not being limited to technology or to the newer trends is what kind of keeps me moving, is what really helps me, shape my journey. So, for example, when Instagram began, it was mainly a photo-based app, and today we see, everything is video-based. The shorter, the better, because we spoke about how attention span keeps reducing. So, kind of trying to adapt to these changes, including whatever I'm learning from my blogging journey, applying that to my work as well. Like as a content creator, I'm able to give a lot of insights when it comes to the social media in the brands that I'm working. I also do a lot of consulting, on weekends for brands, for content management and for social media planning, things like that. I work with a travel agency to help them do their social media planning. Being an avid traveler myself gives me a lot of insight into what customers want to see, what is the kind of information they want to look at. So that kind of helps. Personal experiences help a lot in shaping what goes on into my corporate life as well. Like when I'm creating copy for a brand that I'm working with, I think of it as a customer. Like,
Yes.
do I want to see this? Will I buy the product reading this copy? So that helps me as well.
Exactly. Putting yourself in the customer's shoes and trying to see if it's going to really evoke some kind of
Some kind of emotion, some kind of connection basically.
Exactly.
With the brand.
Amazing. As a, like, let's say someone who's unsure, who's fairly interested in writing, creating content. Now content means a lot of content is about social media itself. A youngster, maybe finished college, the new generation. What kind of advice would you give to a person like that who's starting off,
As a content
creator? And because they don't, probably when we were young, we didn't have any kind of direction on what to do, no matter what we did, either unless we had a mentor or someone who was actually guiding us. In my case, it was like nobody was there to tell me what to do. I had to find my, and that took away a lot of my time. I wouldn't say it's a waste, but it's all experiences, right? But if I had a mentor guiding me on this is what I need to do, probably I would have saved some time and space, and So, what kind of advice would you give someone who wants to create compelling content, who wants to embark on this journey of communication and doing exactly what you're doing?
I would just say you do you. I mean, because everybody needs to have a niche. Follow your niche. Create something that you like. Share what you like. Don't share what you don't like. Show the real side of you. People want to see what's relatable, and if you show what's real and not something that's fake or made up or has too much of acting in it, that's when people will connect with you, when you show the real side of what you do on a regular basis. Following trends is also kind of important, but then the bad thing about trends are they change every day, but the good thing about trends is that they change every day. So you get to pick and choose what trends align with the kind of content you create. Do you believe in it? Do your followers believe in it? Is it something that you really feel for and you want to create something around it? If you do, then go ahead with it. If not, skip it. There's always going to be something viral going on tomorrow. Something new.
It's a very good insight actually when you say this, because we normally as human beings, we look at trends and okay, let's copy that. But I think it's not just about copying, it's just about
what is relevant to you.
What is relevant to you? Does it really help me, or is it who I am?
Right.
Rather than just copying and pasting everything. And that's one of the most common mistakes I feel people make when it comes to communication and content. Just look at something, copy, just do a kind of recycling and then use it. But it may not be, it may not show who you are. It may not be who you are as a brand. It may not come out as what you want.
It may not even be relevant.
Yeah, exactly. I think that brings us to the end of our conversation. It was really fun having you here, Rashida, today. Because when we get people like you on board, professionals who've been in this space, it really gives a clear insight onto people who are listening, who want to enter this space. Just looking at your journey from a personal blogger to working in a corporate space and doing the things that you love to do is really important. And not all people are fortunate enough to actually experience that. So that's the reason behind having people like you come on this podcast and share your experiences, so that they can take away at least one or two points that will help them in their journey. Be it seasoned professionals or people who are starting off. So I just want to thank you from the
Thank you
bottom
so
of my
much.
heart for being here today and sharing your experiences with us. It was quite insightful. We do a lot of content, but it's different when you hear it from a specialist. We have content writers, we have communication specialists, and so on. But looking at your experience and what you say makes a lot of difference. And thank you for being.
Thank you so much, AJ. Thank you for having me
Thank you.
here.
So that brings us to the end of the show. Please subscribe. We are available on all major platforms. Thank you once again, and see you on the next episode of Unboxed. Thank you.